we're starting to record. Today we have and I'm not going to give anything away. Pass it to you. Let's learn together. It's time to dance, and a head bob will do. Here we go.
If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
And if you hear some purring in the background,
this is
ignore
the place
it.
you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friends. So nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. And today we have a full house. So I'm just going to get to it. I'm going to share a little riddle for you to see if you guess it. What do you get when you have a reverend, imam, and rabbi on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show? You have the answer? The answer is you get 3 wise guys. That's it. And it's not even Epiphany. So I am really excited because a long time ago, when I started, probably this year, at the beginning of the year, I started a segment called Breaking Down the Walls of Religion. And I've been to every single one of these different denominations so that we can embrace our similarities. And these wise guys have been doing this for quite some time. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that we have Reverend Bryan Fulwider, Imam Muhammad Musri, and Rabbi Steve Engel. And I am so grateful that you are here to do just that. Welcome, gentlemen, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Okay, so we're going to start in order here because there's so many of you and one of me, and I want to hear from all of you. So I'm going to start with Reverend Bryan Fulwider. And so share a little bit about yourself and what led you to your church.
I am United Methodist and United Church of Christ pastor. I've pastored churches for about 25 years, a little more than that. And what led me to my church is just a lifelong sense of relationship to God, to the people of faith, to community, and to try, we talk about a call in my tradition, and I experienced that sense of call. Later, I thought it was maybe indigestion, but then I decided maybe there was something more as folks began to encourage me to seek that call, and I've never looked back and always been thankful that I followed that call. So my life mission is really to serve folks and to help folks in their own journey of life and faith.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to our conversation today because we are going to embrace each other's faith, especially at times of needs. And that's what our conversation is going to be about today. So thank you for that, Reverend. Next, we have Imam Muhammad Musri. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much for being part of the Lillian McDermott Radio Show today.
Thank you, Lillian.
So share a little bit about your background and what led you to your faith.
Well, I was born in Beirut, Lebanon, and I grew up in a multi-faith, neighborhood. I had friends, Christian friends since childhood. And when I came to the United States, I always sought interfaith relations. I wanted to have, dialogue and conversation between different faiths because I saw the commonalities. And when I became the leader of the Islamic Society of Central Florida in Orlando, I decided to reach out to both the Reverend and the Rabbi and many other faith leaders to work together to build a great community.
I love it. I love it. And as a matter of fact, right after the Pulse tragedy, I don't know if you remember, but I was there. I was, because this is when we first started breaking down the walls of religion. And this was my first time walking into a mosque, and you gave such a powerful talk. They didn't think we were going to be coming. And we decided that we were. Manar Al-Qaldi was our tour guide, or the person who led me to the mosque and kind of educated us in what to do and what not to do. And you were there, and you were so powerful. It was divine that we were there and to hear your kind words, your love, your words of encouragement. And I want to thank you for, during that tragic time, how you made us all understand that it wasn't the Muslim faith that had done this. It was a sole individual crazy person, basically, is what I got out of that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That's
true.
True.
And so I hear that the music has started, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring Rabbi Steve Engel when we return, and we're going to continue a conversation about how to embrace each other in times of need. And we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. Okay, so that is a true story. That was the first time we were going to break down the walls of religion, and we stepped into the mosque. But before we did that, we got a letter from her saying, "Are you still coming?" This is like the week before, and we said, "Of course we are." And she was surprised, and we were there, and it was so beautiful. So thank you for welcoming us, Imam, into your mosque.
We're honored that you visited, and we'd love for you to visit again.
And you know what? I will. It was and I understood a lot of things that I didn't understand before. And so I know, Rabbi, you're waiting patiently. When we come back, we'll introduce you. We'll start with you, and basically you can share a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yes.
Yeah. And I must say, Imam, your cats were very well behaved during this segment.
Yeah.
Which one was that, Imam?
Oh, you have more than one?
Two.
Yeah, I have two, Jack and Shadow.
Jack and Shadow.
Shadow. I didn't know Shadow.
Okay, so today, I don't know if Ashley sent an email to you. Today, what I'd like to talk about is how to cultivate love, acceptance, and forgiveness during difficult times in our lives, especially in our communities, within ourselves, within our communities. And so that is the topic for today. And Bryan, just keep us honest with the timing here, because I want to make sure that we get back. We didn't have much time to kind of talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So I wanted to make sure you guys were okay with that.
Yeah, we played close to the wire. But,
yeah, I got that.
But we work in radio, so it's all right.
I know, you guys. So your show, I want to talk about your show. As I understand, it was last night at 6:30 or 5:30?
Yep. 6:30. 6:30 Eastern.
Yeah. Now, are you guys on the radio as well, or are you on podcast only?
Radio. Yeah, we're on 90.7, the public radio station here.
Yeah.
The NPR affiliate here.
Yeah.
Central Florida.
Yeah, I have it, and just make sure I have the right. For some reason, my iPad is off. So I have I did a little research on you guys.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today's teachers are a reverend, an imam, and a rabbi. And I'm so grateful that all three of them are there. They're called the three wise guys. I'm not being a wise person myself. And they're really called the wise guys, the three wise guys. And so today we heard from Reverend Bryan Fulwider and Imam Muhammad Musri. And now we're going to hear from Rabbi Steve Engel. Happy birthday, Rabbi.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you today. Pleasure to be here.
I've been looking forward to this day, and I didn't even know it was your birthday. So it makes it even better. So share a little bit about your background, Rabbi, and what led you to your faith.
I actually have a degree from Rutgers University in physics. I began as a scientist and made a change into religion when I was a senior in college, basically, before I was ready to go to graduate school, and decided I want to change my career. I wanted to do something where I could really have an effect on people and have an effect on the world. And I felt that Judaism was the best for me, being Jewish. That would make sense.
That works.
But also that religion was really about helping a person become the best person they could be in order to make the world the best it could be. And I felt that as a rabbi, I could do that. I'm a Reform rabbi. That is a denomination of Judaism. We're the largest denomination in America. And I've been a rabbi for 30 years, and I find my work totally invigorating and challenging and so interesting in the relationships that I get to build with people and the aspects of being involved in their lives. I always consider it a precious gift to be involved intimately in people's lives.
And you've done a really good job. You're a senior rabbi with the congregation of the Reformed Judaism. Like you said, it's one of the largest congregations. Would you call it a congregation?
Yeah, it's a congregation. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So you've done a really good job. So well done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And you can show your commitment when you show up on your birthday.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's to be on my birthday.
That's absolutely, absolutely. So as you know, I've shared that, I talk about breaking down the walls of religion. And so we have a rabbi, we have an imam, and we have a reverend. And so how did you guys meet? Rabbi, would you like to share the story of how you guys met?
Sure. We've actually been friends for 20 years.
Wow.
We began just, with our common interest in interfaith in the community. We actually would have a lunch about once a month together in a place called Winter Park here right near in Orlando. And we started to think about what we'd like to do together. And we began doing sort of small programs in churches and mosques in the community. And we noticed that there was a great interest in what we were doing because, as we like to say, we like to practice good religion. There's a lot of bad religion around that's very judgmental, that's very divisive, where there's ministers and clergy and religious people screaming at people on the radio and the TV. And we said, you know what? Most people of religion are intelligent people, and they want conversation where we could actually disagree. We could have differences, but we could also share our similarities. And so we started looking around what we wanted to do. We thought maybe TV. And then as the Reverend said, his mother said he doesn't have a face for TV, but he has a great face for radio.
I do too. So, I've used that line too.
Yeah, see, that's a good one. And we began really in a small way. We pitched it to the local public radio station, and they said, yeah. We get a lot of things thrown our way. We get hundreds of different programs, and we did a pilot. We worked on it for a year. And they accepted it and said, this is really, really interesting. There's nothing like this around the country where three religious leaders are sitting around really talking about important topics of the day. And the rest is history. Our first show, by the way, was April 1st of that year.
2012.
Yeah. We do a little humor on our show. We cover serious topics, but we think that also humor is part of being a human being and part of religion. That we should have joy. We should kid with each other a little bit, and we're serious at the same time. So
very
good.
I love that. I love that. We're very like-minded, and I'm so grateful that you guys are finally on my show because before I even knew you guys existed, I wanted this. So you could feel that this is what we want. This is what the people want. We're done with the differences. And Imam Muhammad Musri, for those of you who are tuning in, we've got the three wise guys on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. Imam, it is so sad. We talk about good religion. Rabbi had just mentioned about good religion, but religion is used for evil too, to separate, to divide us, to say that we are different. And I know that, like I said, my first encounter where I worshiped at a mosque was when you were giving a wonderful talk. It's your congregation. So how do we make the choice to practice good religion when the world is telling us how different we are?
Well, we share the same God, and we share the same world. We are part of the same human family, and it is important for all of us to recognize how much we have in common. There's, in fact, very little differences between all of us.
Yes.
And most of these differences are man-made, and we need to overcome those differences. We need to see the humanity in each other. We need to see God's love in each other, because I don't believe that really God gave us, these different ways and different paths to Him to fight one another or to hate each other, but rather He always stressed love, respect, to have a community that's very diverse, yet we are helping one another. One of the greatest commandments is love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
And we all talk about it, but we don't practice it as much as we should. So I hope that people understand that when God is talking about love your neighbor could be anyone,
Yes.
even someone who doesn't believe in God. You still have to love them, have to respect them, and to honor, God in them, that this is God's commandment to love your neighbor as yourself.
Very good. And, the more I get to do this show, the more the teachers like you that come on my show, the more I learn that what we see in others is who we're afraid to look at in ourselves. So if we are seeing differences in you, to stay divided from you, then that makes me safe, because I don't have to look at my prejudice or my issues that I have. I see you nodding your head. And is this something that you've seen reoccurring in your time as imam and in your life?
All the time, you see people who have fears, have stereotypes that since childhood they grew up believing in stereotypes, and then when they confront those fears, when they reach to a friend or a neighbor or a colleague at work or at school, and all of a sudden they break down these walls and find a friend and make a friend. Mm-hmm. When the three of us became friends over 20 years ago, we didn't know much about each other, but we afforded each other this basic right to learn about each other. And over these years, these many years, we have become even closer and stronger friends. And I wish everybody would try this experiment with people around them. Reach out and talk to them.
I love it. Rabbi Engel, is there anything you'd like to add to what Imam Musri just said?
I would. I think we live in a world where people really make judgments about other people without ever meeting a person. Yes. Of that faith or that community or that group. And, people say things around me all the time, of every religion about Muslims, for instance.
Yes.
Muslims are this, Muslims are that. The Quran says this, they hear it on the TV, they hear it in a blog, and they make suppositions about people. And I ask them, have you ever met a Muslim? No. And I say that I make my judgments about whoever I know, whether it's a Muslim or, an LGBTQ person or a Christian or a denomination, by a person that I know. And what I know is my friend, Imam Musri, is what I base my idea about a Muslim on, not some other thing. So it's important, I think, for us as human beings, when we think about other people, and we do have differences, we have similarities, when we think about what that person is or who that person is deep down, that it is about a person we actually know and have had a conversation with. That's what we try to do in our show, Friends Talking Faith, is that we're showing people that you need to really have a conversation to get to know a person.
Absolutely. Totally agree. The first show that we ever did, like I said earlier, was breaking down the religion and embracing true Islamic belief. And Manar El-Kandi, she was on our show. And so that for those of you, my listening friend, that would like to listen to that show, to listen and to learn a little bit more about the true Islamic belief, go to that show. Just enter Islamic and in the search feature, and it'll take you there. So thank you for that, Rabbi Engel. Now I want to go back to Christianity, Reverend Fulwider. Now I'm going to put you on the hot seat, because I've had people say to me, because I'm trying to embrace everybody, because we are all one. We're not separate. We are all one. What happens to you happens to me. But I have had Christians in my face yelling at me saying I'm not a Christian if I proclaim that the only way that you can get to heaven is through Jesus, and these other denominations don't believe in Jesus. What do you say to someone as a Christian that you understand the truth that we love one another? What do you say? How do you break down that myth?
Well, I think we have to start by asking the question, what does Jesus really teach us about how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to be in relationship? And there's this wonderful kind of openness in Jesus that I think we don't often see in those who claim to follow him.
I agree.
And Albert Camus years ago said, well, I find the person upon whom Christianity is founded to be very compelling. I find many of its followers to be repelling. And I think that's, that's a sad statement, that here this man of peace and love and acceptance and healing and forgiveness is characterized by people who are hateful and mean and cruel-spirited. This idea that Jesus is the only way to find God, I think would be nonsensical to Jesus. I think he would say, "What are you talking about?
Yes.
There are many paths to get to God. The idea is to live out the core principles of your faith, which are in every great faith tradition." And we represent the three Abrahamic faith traditions, although we're clear to say we don't speak for all Christians or Muslims or Jews, because that's not our goal. But we speak for ourselves out of our tradition, out of our understanding of faith. And the great teachings of each of the faith traditions and those from the Eastern traditions and so on all have that core principle of compassion, of love, of peace, of hope. I mean, Islam, for heaven's sakes, means peace. Shalom is a word that people use all over the place, not knowing the meaning, and the rabbi can tell you more about the meaning. But anyway, I think they misunderstand the core message of Jesus.
Very good. And I am so excited to have this conversation. Usually my hermana, mi hermana, Julie Michler, is with me, and we're talking about breaking down the walls together. But it's so nice to have three strong men helping me out today. And we're going to continue our conversation with Reverend Fuller, Imam Musri, and Rabbi Engel when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Oh, that was great. Thank you so much for that. The three of you together are an overwhelming majority. So when we come back from the break, I just want to let you know that I usually talk about how to get a hold of me and social media. And so then I will reintroduce all of you, because I want to make sure that everybody knows who we're talking about. And thank you so much, Rabbi, for typing in your A. That was perfect. Thank you. And please, all of you.
They blame me for speaking the most. That's why.
Well, it's not.
It's your birthday. It's your birthday today.
Yeah. It's not a blame. It's actually, documented.
Tracking.
We have tracking, and so let's be clear. It's not just a theory.
But we can let him do that on his birthday.
On his birthday, free
Wow,
reign. Now, what does A mean again?
A means add me back in.
Add me back in. I got something to say.
Acknowledge me. Acknowledge me.
Okay, all right.
So I'm
well,
giving
we'll
my
let him have
secrets.
the A's today.
I'm giving my secrets away to my viewers.
There
So
we go.
this recording will be on YouTube, and you can certainly put it on.
This part's on YouTube.
Yes, you didn't put that.
Part?
You didn't tell me to stop.
Well, I'm glad I didn't say something really bad. Good. Yeah.
Would you like for me to stop the recording? Because I can do that too.
Heavens, no.
Okay. So today we're gonna have a lot of fun as well. Now, what's been the funniest topic that you guys all embraced together? What was that you guys thought, oh my God, this is too funny of a topic?
Every show is laughing.
Yeah.
Almost every show. Yeah. Right.
Almost every show.
Yeah.
Well, you guys said so proper on the air.
Well, we did one on sports, and the rabbi talks about the big book of Jewish sports.
Yeah, that's true. 3 pages.
Yeah. And then we did one on food. That's one of my favorite shows. They accidentally reran that one at the end of the year one year, and so we got that twice. But
now, when you talk about food, I don't know if you know anything about my show, but we talk about whole food, plant-based, or healthy nutrition, and how to revive every cell in your body. When you talk about food, what kind of food were you talking about?
Well, I give the rabbi and imam all my recipes for ham casserole. And
Jewish food typically is not healthy.
But it's great.
Foods, a lot of salt. It's not good food.
Yeah, but it's good food. It's just not good for you.
Right. Yeah.
It's terrific food.
Now, let me ask you that question. You guys bring it up, and by the way, Bryan, keep me honest on time. Do you guys sample? You have your religious beliefs about food and what you can and cannot have, and of course, American.
Listen. The rabbi brings in potato pancakes to cook for us at the station and gets us in trouble. The engineer's coming out going, "You can't cook in here. That's a fire hazard." And rabbi's over there cooking up.
Fire marshal Bill comes out.
I almost lit up the studio. They went crazy.
What about you, Imam? I mean, do you have certain limitations that you cannot? I know that the Jewish faith you don't have hoofed animals, right?
Well, we don't eat pork or shellfish, basically.
Even shellfish?
And don't mix milk and meat.
No milk and meat.
Nope,
together. So you can have milk and you can have meat.
Right, but not together.
When would we have milk and meat together?
Cheeseburger?
Beef stroganoff?
Yep.
Variety. Kinds of things.
Got it. Okay, what about Imam?
Yeah, we have several dietary laws that are kind of similar to the Jewish faith.
Yep.
And so we don't eat pork either. We do eat shellfish. In some denominations in Islam, they don't, but the vast majority do.
Well, do you know, I know why we can't eat pork. You want to hear this, Reverend Fulwider?
Tell me.
Because it's the closest to the DNA of a human body.
Oh my gosh.
So your cannibalism.
373-5959.
Yuck.
Once again, here's Lillian.
I'm sorry to ruin that for you. And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my belief that I want to encourage you to go through life with childlike wonder. When you're a kid, there are no divisions. There is no enemy. There is nothing other than pure joy. So go today with childlike wonder and don't even call it by name. Just experience by feeling. And today's teachers, we can always learn from everybody. They are Reverend Bryan Fulwider, Imam Muhammad Musri, and Rabbi Steve Engel. I've got a full house today, and we are talking about how to cultivate love, acceptance, and forgiveness during difficult times in our lives. Although we're just getting to know each other, and it's been a lot of fun to have the conversation on and off the air. And I want to encourage you, my listening friend, to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. This is where we have that 100% responsibility responsibility attitude. And the responsibility that I'm talking about is the kind that leads to empowerment and freedom. No more blame, shame, fault, duty. Only 100% responsibility. If you want to embrace that with me and join the movement, go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber, and tell all your friends to do the same. And while you're there, make sure you check out my sponsors page, because without my sponsors, this show would not happen. So make sure you check out my sponsors and support them like they are supporting the show, because every day we learn something new on the show. So I want you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber. Also, I want you to check out my social media and like me there. It's how I feel valued. And also, you can catch me on demand on YouTube. So I'm on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. And of course, this show, if you go to whenyouneedafriend.com and click on YouTube, you'll be able to watch the show and listen and watch some of the conversations that we're having on and off the air. And as always, you can call me at 407-373-5959 if there's anything that you would like to add, text or call, leave a message. I'm hoping that you're listening today with an open heart, that we are all one, that what happens to your neighbor truly happens to you. What you see in others is really how you see yourself, and you're unwilling to sit with and acknowledge. So today we are working on breaking down the walls of religion with three wise guys. We have Reverend Bryan Fulwider, Imam Muhammad Musri, and Rabbi Steve Engel. These are very popular men. And they're here on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. So I'm going to start this segment with Imam Musri. Now, as we go through life with our judgments and our attitudes, we go through and something catastrophic happens, and it brings out the best of us. We help each other out, we love each other out, and then the media gets involved. And when the media gets involved, it's all about hate and fear. And then that love and that feeling that we are naturally gravitate to is stopped. Now it's about our differences. How do you encourage your congregation, the world, to stop the madness? Do we turn off the television? Do we walk into whatever we fear? How do you coach or suggest that we embrace whatever's happening in our life?
Well, indeed, the role of the media over the years have changed from covering all kinds of news, good news and bad news, to just covering bad news that if you just watch the news every day, you're going to get depressed.
Yes.
And I would say it wouldn't be a stretch if you turn off the television and get out of your house and visit your neighbors, get to know them, make friends, talk to people live instead of sitting and listening to talking heads who ultimately their goal is to divide us into this group and that group, and we start hating one another. I feel that the media has to do significant change to allow all the voices to be included. And when we do an event where all faiths are represented or there is something positive, the media is never there. But if I'm going to threaten the rabbi or the rabbi threaten the reverend, the media will jump on it and it will be front page. And that is a very sad story in our society today.
Yes.
If
it leads, it bleeds, right?
Yeah, exactly. If there is one bad representative for any of our faith, they will get front page. But all the good people who are in the trenches doing great work, helping the needy, the homeless, they never get covered. Nobody hears about them because it's not a story. And that is sad.
So when you say, okay, visit your neighbor, walk into a mosque or visit a temple, or, if you are a Muslim, go to a Christian church. Is that what you encourage?
I strongly encourage every person to visit as many places of worship, get to know them, get to feel the love they offer you. I've been to the synagogue. I've been to Steve's synagogue many times, and I have seen nothing but love and respect. I've been to Bryan's And I have seen that true Jews and true Christians, true Muslims, they all mean well and they love. But if we have the fear, if the media creates the fear so that we stop visiting one another, stop exchanging, gifts and having conversations, then we become isolated and we become an easy target for a media that divides us today. The people who watch, say, Fox News will only watch Fox News. The people who watch MSNBC will only watch MSNBC. We need to really have a radio and television for all of us, not for some of us. And we need people who preach love rather than people who preach hate and division.
Yeah, well, the opposite of love is fear. And yes. in doing the fear part, it keeps us connected because we're so afraid. If we were completely happy and full of love, we wouldn't need television. We wouldn't need any of that. So that's part of their defense mechanism to keep us tied up to, what we don't know, we don't know. And
I want to give you two quick examples.
Perfect.
One was the pastor in Gainesville years ago when he wanted to burn Qur'ans. The whole world media descended on Gainesville, and that small town that is nothing but love, where the University of Florida is, was misrepresented by a misguided individual who does not really represent the Christian faith. But the whole world thought Americans and Christians are represented by that person, Terry Jones. Another example recently with Richard Spencer, when he descended on Gainesville, and it almost lit up the city, where people had to stand up to this demagogue, this neo-Nazi, because that does not represent Florida, does not represent Gainesville. But the media focused nationally, internationally on one individual, okay, and forgot the millions of people who do not believe in what he believes in. And it cost the university over $600,000 just for security.
Wow.
The media gave them the publicity. These individuals should be ignored by the media. The people who should be highlighted are people who are preaching for peace and love and community and respect and bringing people together, not the divisive people among us.
Very good. That's great tips. Now, any tips from you, Rabbi Engel, for us to get along and see our similarities and accept each other?
I think today, that one of the things that we really lack is real conversation. I mean, we now push on our social media, we push on our iPhones, we go on the computer to get all of our information. I think that although there are many benefits of social media, and we've spoken about this on our show, Friends Talking Faith, is that people depend too much on social media for human-to-human connection. And I think we're lacking that. And I think that if we really sat down and talked with a person and had conversations, even sometimes difficult conversations, painful conversations, challenging conversations, I think the world would be a lot different than us sort of receiving our connections to people through social media. When I write something in an email, you can't feel my tone or my intention or
Sure.
Really what I'm trying to present. But if I'm sitting with you face to face, person to person, those interactions are so important. I think that part of what religion asks us to do is we're all created as human beings in the image of God. We need to see that divinity in every single person, but you can't do that through Facebook or an email. We can only do that when we sit face to face with a person.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think we've lost that interconnection, not only to the world, but that interconnection to ourself. I see you nodding your head. So what do you say?
It's easy to put our focus on other people rather than having the responsibility to look inside of ourselves. Who are we as a person? What do we believe? What do we feel? What do we want to represent to the world of who we are? And so it's really important, that internal look.
Great perspective. And we're going to continue our conversation when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Good job. I like this. We need to get along. Now, let me see. So when we come back, I don't want to discuss it now off the air, but when we come back, I would like for each one of you, we only have, can you believe how quickly the time has flown?
It always flies by. Yeah.
And so you guys do you have a 1 hour show or a half hour show?
Half hour.
Yeah. Half hour show.
Right.
Okay. So I can imagine what half an hour goes by. Oh my gosh.
It flies by. Yeah.
Wow. You need to change that to 1 hour. That's just my subliminal messages sent out to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So now are you guys part of, because I noticed that you are part of you're involved in, or did you start Interfaith Council of Central Florida?
We're involved in it. It's been an organization that's been here for 50 years, but we brought it under the umbrella of our nonprofit when we founded that, which is Building Us a few years ago. And so that now is part of that, as well as the radio show, Friends Talking Faith.
Yeah.
And an institute we call the Interdiversity Institute, which is our secular outreach arm to reach out to businesses and community enterprises for diversity work.
And what do you do with the money collected, and what do you use it for?
Well, I mean, we don't collect a huge amount of money, but it goes to pay the salaries of our small staff, meager salaries of our small staff. Yeah, so.
Just wondering what you were doing with it. You know,
Right.
I have a foundation, and what we do is, and of course, we're still building the financial aspect of it, and ultimately, what we'd like to do is pay for holistic treatments for cancer. You know, there's only a 2.1 5-year positive outcome with chemotherapy, and all the money that we've poured into it, research, and that's the best we can do is 2.1 success with chemotherapy. So what the foundation wants to do is be able to educate and be able to pay for holistic treatment for people who want to try something different. So I didn't know if you were.
Our goal is to eventually have a foundation, but we need to have positive cash flow to do that, or some contributors to do that. So that's a goal, to do diversity and interfaith work.
Wonderful. It takes a village, doesn't it?
It takes a village.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And when I learned about the Interfaith Council of Central Florida through Abhinav Dwivedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did I say that not right?
He's right, and he's a member on the council executive committee.
He was on my Embracing Hinduism on that show, and I was able to worship with the faith. Oh, here we go. I didn't see. Ryan, keep me honest.
You can text Lillian.
Here we go. This is our last dance.
All
So
right.
let's make it count.
959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We are talking about breaking down the walls of religion, how to embrace someone that has a different faith than you. Just stop with the religion, I'm this and you're that. We're all one. And so today we have the three wise guys on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And the three wise guys consist of Reverend Bryan Fulwider, Imam Muhammad Musri, and Rabbi Steve Engel. And so today I get to spend some time with the three wise guys, and it's not even Epiphany. Now, before if you want to, and I hope that you do, Tuesdays at 6:30, you can go to, can you hear it from or streamed by TWG Radio?
Yes, at TWG. Yeah, twgradio.com.
You can stream just right from there?
There's a podcast button there, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're podcastable on Apple, Android, and pretty much every podcast platform.
Okay, and it's 90.7?
90.7 FM, right. Also the app on the radio station, WMFE. You can do that, listen to the past shows as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to bring you in first, Reverend, because this is the last segment, and we've touched upon how to kind of reach out to one another and heal. Let's talk about the myths about Christianity, and what is the number one myth that you hear, and what you would like for us to know about the Christian faith.
Well, I think there are many myths about Christianity, or maybe we would say fantasies or falsehoods, even more appropriately, because myth sometimes has a truth in it that we have to understand. But the fantasies and falsehoods include the idea, for instance, that the non-negotiables around Christianity and Jesus have something to do, for instance, with the issue of women's reproductive health, or with the issues of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And frankly, there is nothing that Jesus said about either of those issues. And there's really no extrapolation from Christianity about those. But what the core ideas of Christianity have to do with forgiveness, with a commitment to the poor, with a commitment to justice, especially in relation to the poor, with a sense of love and acceptance. Community building that is based on inclusion rather than exclusion. These are the core principles of Jesus, and peacemaking. And if you don't find those in the gospel, you're not reading the biblical texts of Christianity from the New Testament, because that's what Jesus taught about. He taught nothing about those other very divisive issues, which Christians have a whole variety of ideas about and understandings. But our first understanding should be human beings are the most important part of our relationship and world, and we should be caring for, loving, and protecting each other and each other's rights and each other's sense of value and basic dignity and human worth. And if your decisions about certain things are different than mine, then I need to sit down, as the rabbi and Imam have both said, and talk with you about it and understand what you're saying, rather than judge you, or because judgmentalism has no place in Christianity, or frankly in any religion as we talk about it. That's
Sure.
simply not. To make a good judgment for yourself is one thing. To be judgmentalism about others is another, and it's unacceptable. It's part of what we talk about as bad religion, and it gets into that too often.
Thank you for that, Reverend Bryan Fulwider. And I'm so excited that you've been able to represent the Christian church very well. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Now, Imam Muhammad Musri, again, there's a lot of myths about the Islamic faith. I would like for you to share the number one recalled myth that you get, and what you would like for us to know about the Muslim faith.
Well, the number one myth that most people know about or think about is Islam equals terrorism. When people think about Islam, because they heard on the media all the time, when they mention a terrorist, they always attach religion to it. The fact is, there's 1.7 billion Muslims around the world, and 99.99 are peaceful people who go about their lives like the rest of us, you know, wanting to provide for their families, educate their children, and they're not even involved in the politics. But the marginal group, the small, very tiny group that gets all the attention and the noise, which percentage-wise is very small, gets all the attention, and those are not coming from an Islamic perspective based in the text and the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad. Rather, they are political figures trying to ride on religion and use religion to further their political goals. And we need to differentiate between people of faith and people of politics.
Very good. And so what would you like for us to know about the Muslim faith that you feel that if people knew this, because we hear about the hate and the terrorism, you say that we're people of peace.
I would love for people to visit the mosque next door. You know, there are millions of American Muslims who would love for you to visit their mosque, and they will have a conversation with you and will show you who they are. You know, you don't have to learn about us through the media, through some marginal groups overseas, but learn about your American Muslim neighbor by visiting them or talking to them, and they will be happy to share with you. You know, we are perhaps the most law-abiding, tax-paying group in the country, and yet we don't get the positive coverage from here. We get always to hear about our faith through, terrorist groups overseas.
Very good. That's a very good point, and thank you so much for that call to action that I will embrace. I'm sure Julie will join me next time we go to your mosque. And so, finally, Rabbi Steve Engel, what is the biggest myth about the Jewish faith, and what would you like for us to know?
Well, sort of on a funny note, that people think that authentic Jews have beards and black hats, black coats, and dress like they're from Eastern Europe. Most people look just like I do. They're your friends and your neighbors. And the other thing that's sort of interesting is that, and it comes a lot also from, sorry to pick on you, Rev, for a minute, but the majority culture of living in a Christian country kind of think that Jews are, the chosen people, the original people.
You're not?
Well, our religion may be the oldest, but sometimes chosenness is used in a sense of, better than other people or a closed group or something like that. But we Jews were chosen for a specific thing, not that we're better or superior than anyone else. And also the idea that, Judaism is sort of the biblical religion. Well, the truth is our religion has evolved over thousands of years. We don't do much that's biblical. I once got a funny phone call where someone said, "We're studying Bible in our Sunday school. We want to come to your synagogue to see how biblical people live." And I was like, actually, we don't ride camels. We don't live in tents. We actually work just like you do. And we're regular people. So if you want to learn about the Bible, open it up and read it. Don't come to synagogue, because Jews have evolved and we've changed. And just like all of our religions, I think that's a really good point to sort of, if you're going to wrap up soon, is that religion isn't something that's been left in the Middle Ages or in the early Christian period or the biblical period or the time of Muhammad. All of our religions have evolved over time as humanity's understanding and our understandings of ourselves has evolved. So has good religion evolved. So I think that part of what we call bad religion is a religion that's left out. People want to live like they lived thousands of years ago. And I think that's wrong. Our human understanding has developed over time. We've matured as a human race and as human beings, and our religion has too.
Wonderful. And I will let that be the final word. I am so grateful to Reverend Bryan Fulwider, Imam Muhammad Musri, Rabbi Steve Engel. Thank you so much for the work you do every week. I would encourage my listening friends to tune in to listen to the Three Wise Guys. Thank you, gentlemen, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And to you, my listening friend, it is time. It is time to break down the walls of the religion. We are all one. We are all one. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. I forgot to tell you guys, if you want to join me with the ever, you can, but that's okay. We'll do it again. Make it the best day ever. Very good. We captured that on the video. Is there anything that we didn't discuss today that you would like to share before we close? And I'm so grateful for this conversation, by the way. Anyone?
There's always more to talk about. Conversation should never end.
Well, I would love for you guys to join me as often as you'd like, because this conversation does need to happen. You guys are leading by example, and that is what we're missing. Just recently, I grew up Catholic, and just recently I have gone on a path of breaking down the walls of religion. I believe religions keep us inclusive, like a club, like you had mentioned, that's like this exclusive club, and nobody is welcomed other than the people that believe just like you. And it doesn't support me anymore. So I started going to different denominations and experiencing that. And let me tell you, it has completely changed who I am to be able to be inclusive. A call to action, Rabbi, for our viewers now that are tuning into YouTube or Facebook, what would you like to say to them about exclusivity?
I agree with you 100% that people base their idea of religion of a negative experience, of something they might have experienced when they grew up, of the things they read in the newspaper about, you're a Catholic, that, the whole Catholic Church is corrupt. That there are different kinds of churches, there are different kinds of synagogues, there are different mosques. Don't base your idea of religion of something that you've experienced that's negative, because what we do is we believe that a huge percentage of religion is actually really positive and really open and welcoming and warm and friendly and non-judgmental, and there actually is religion. I always feel sad when someone says, well, I gave up on any kind of religious, spiritual practice because I just felt this ... about religion. And I think you can say that about, there are bad men and women. Does that mean you don't want to have an interaction with a man or a woman ever in your life? I mean, we make these judgments about people and about institutions. And I think that we have to also separate the idea of faith from the institution. The institution may not be right for someone, but the faith may. And so the institution doesn't always represent the faith. And there are places of faith that don't operate like typical institutions either. There are a lot of options for people.
Very good point. I wanted to also add, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about Catholicism. I've just recently had Deacon Al Castellana on my show. And I asked him, what's different now, what we should do, what's been different. And he said, we need mentors. We need mentors. Men and women don't have positive mentors. You turn on the television, and like Imam said, you just hear about the evil people of this world. And we've got this perception that everybody is evil. So the work that you guys are doing week after week, creating dialogue, that was the original thought that I had on my show, was to have friendly conversation, because I grew up in a household, and I don't know if this is, and maybe any of you can talk about this. I grew up in a household that if you didn't share the same value or the same thought, then you were made wrong. You were made to feel wrong. And that's how I grew up. And I said, I want to have a conversation where we can have a difference of opinion and be heard. Imam, did that happen to you in your home? Or did you have always a welcoming home where everybody's ideas were welcomed?
In my personal home, we always had differences of opinion. Growing up, as I stated earlier, in a neighborhood where I had childhood friends from every faith and every country, it taught me early on that there's goodness in everybody. And you don't have to look far. You just have to reach to the people around you and not have any stereotypes about them or presuppositions. You just need to talk to them with open heart and open mind, and you'll find abundance of examples of great people in every faith and every tradition. And I learned early on that you could live happy if you choose to believe in this and go out and seek it, or you could live miserable, think everybody is wrong and bad and out to get you, live in fear if you believe in stereotypes that many are, promoted in the media.
Yeah, there is thank you so much for that, Imam. I think, did we start with Rabbi? So we'll end with Reverend. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Matrix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you take the red pill, you will see truth. And if you take the blue pill, you go back to La La Land. Well, many Christians have taken the blue pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
in La La Land.
Exactly. And I'm serious. A Christian tell me, I'm a certified life coach. I said, God could be a she.
Right.
God doesn't have a gender.
Right.
We call God Father because that's how we relate to God. But that's my personal opinion. But if you don't share that opinion, that's okay. So they called me back and they said, I could never have coaching from you because you said God was a she. And I said, well, that's okay. If that's what you want to believe, that's okay. Years
ago, J.B. Phillips wrote a book called Your God is Too Small. It's not a great book, but the title's terrific. Yeah, and that's the problem we have. And so two things I want to say. First of all, because Christianity is still the dominant group in America. We're a Christian majority nation. At least people claim to be Christian, 70 some percent, 77 or whatever it is today. It's been dropping, of course, over the last several years. The Pew Research Center shows us, drops from 80 some percent down to 77%, like an 8% drop in 7 years, which is remarkable because people are backing off, I think, Lillian, from that kind of idea. They're sick and tired of this narrow, unaccepting, my way or the highway attitude of many Christians. And I want to say to those people who claim Christianity in that respect, get off your high horse, knock it off, step down.
Paul got knocked off.
Paul got knocked off, and when he opened his eyes, finally he could see, and said, "Hey, let me tell you that who you're claiming to be God to the Greeks. Let me tell you what I think that means." And I think that's a great way to have a conversation. But one of the most dangerous groups, probably the most dangerous group in America and in the world today, are fundamentalists in religion. Fundamentalist religion says it's only my way. I've got the truth. You're wrong. And if you tell me anything else, if you, I grew up in the Asian seminary when we had come out of the inclusive language conversation. And so I was trained to be very careful about pronouns for God, for instance, the he's and she's and all that stuff. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. Don't worry about it. So interchangeably, my professors would say, when God did this, she da-da-da, or God did this, he da-da-da. And it was to say, look, get real. The notion that God has some sort of gender specificity is just nonsensical thinking. It's small, it's tiny, it's little, it's not faith oriented. And we need to help people have a conversation in which they're held accountable for ideas that really are not accurate or true, or so if you want to see reality, take the blue pill, right? And wake up.
Take the red pill.
Okay, or red pill. Yeah, wake up, grow up, and become a real partner in the conversation and how to help the world. That's what we're about. Faith, any faith, is about how we help people become better humans, and I think that's what we have to strive for.
Very good.
And my doorbell is ringing. So
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a meeting.
I was
Okay.
gonna say,
Rabbi?
we get so trapped in the little parts, the rituals and the other things
The
that
dogmas.
we lose the true essence of what religion is really about again creating the best people that we can be to create the best world that we can create. All those other things are trappings. They're only means to get there. Some people, like in my tradition, some people need the rituals, some people don't. Some people want something more formal, some people don't. In my denomination of Judaism also, by the way, since 40 years ago, we've completely removed gender from the prayer book. We don't use he or she, we use God, because that's what the word is. Why assign a gender to it?
Oh, that is so awesome.
We, in every one of our prayer books, there's no he or she in any of our liturgy or prayer books whatsoever. So why do it? So again, I think, we get so caught up in the little trappings or the methodologies that we forget where we're going. I think that's really important.
Yes. I'd love to hear from Imam with this one. Would you like to share, Imam?
Yes, sure.
There he is.
I thought you were embarrassed.
He was kicking the cat.
He never kicks the cat.
Well, as the rabbi said, we often, get trapped with these pronouns. We always refer to God by name. We avoid using he or she or it because that means different things to different people.
Sure.
But when you use God's many names, and we have 99 names to refer to God with,
Everybody has a way.
Yeah, God, the most merciful, the compassionate, God, the love. And then we are able to express what we want to say with a language that everybody would understand it the same way. I think the trapping of religion over time was bad interpretation.
Yeah.
And people always want to interpret based on their biases. But if we stay away from interpretation and try to be honest with how the text reflect God, we'll be more inclusive and be able to speak to other people and not feel, oh, their God is different from my God. In fact, we all have just one God.
That's right. There's many ways to it.
Exactly.
Many ways to God. And I've learned that through breaking down the walls. And I want to thank you for being such a great example. It goes to show you that we see in people what we're looking for.
Exactly.
So let's look for love, because that's all we want. We want to love and be loved and understood and accepted and embraced. So a lot to take in today's show. Thank you so much, Rabbi, Imam, and Reverend, for being part of the show. I look forward to perhaps maybe doing this again.
That'd be great.
I'd love to.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You
Take
too.
care.